When Thrasher Banks discovered an old memory box, it contained artifacts from a crime in 1995, Dayton, Ohio.
Old VHS tapes, police reports, faded letters, all about a brutal murder.
He begins investigating and soon finds there may be more unsolved cases connected to the story.
We're previewing Lords of Death.
That's on this episode of So Much Crime,
So Little Time.
Welcome to So Much Crime, So Little Time. I'm Jeff.
And I'm Dee, and in this episode we'll introduce you to Lords of Death, a podcast from Tenderfoot TV.
If you haven't listened to Lords of Death, that is great. This is one of our preview episodes.
We only give a quick intro to the scene and the podcast here. We don't discuss anything past episode 1.
You'll also find a link to Lords of Death in our show notes.
In our next episode, we'll discuss the whole series, but right now we just want to decide if this is a crime that's worth your time.
Speaking of time, Dee, before we get to the crime, I think we should hop in the time machine. So this crime happened on June 9th, 1995.
What a time. I will go first. I have a few movies. I'm going to try what we did the last time. I'm going to look at a summary of the movies, and we're going to see how many words that I can pull from the summary it'll take you to get the movie. Last time I just plucked random words, but this time I was wondering, should I go in the order of the summary and see how long into it? Okay. This first one, it won't work because the first word is the name of the movie. So I'm going to say blank. Okay? So it doesn't count. I think 5 was your best the last time. I said 5 words and you guessed the movie.
Okay, read them. Don't go. Maybe you should go slowly. Give me time to guess.
Is it the accent? You're still getting used to the accent. There's only one of these movies. Maybe I'll start with that movie that came out on the 9th of June. Okay?
All right.
The others came out a week or two before it.
All right, I'm with you.
All right. I've never heard of this movie before, by the way.
Bodes well.
When an expedition to the African blank.
Wait.
And
Congo.
Yeah.
Is
Have
it
you
Congo?
seen that movie? It is Congo.
Not only did I see that movie, I saw that movie opening day.
You saw it on June 9th, 1992? That's where you were?
I didn't know that until you said it, but let me tell you why. Do you know anything about this movie? You never heard of this movie. This
Never
movie,
heard this movie
was a Michael Crichton book, the guy who wrote Jurassic Park. When I was in 6th grade, I think, thereabouts, I read Jurassic Park, the book. I stayed up all night reading it. I was too young for that book, and I also probably shouldn't have stayed up all night reading it, but I was captivated by it, and then I poured through all of Michael Crichton's other books that I get my hands on, including Congo. Congo's not a very good book. It was a worse movie. It was one of the first movies I remember sitting and thinking, I'm getting dumber every minute I sit here and watch this movie.
That's so funny.
Terrible movie. Terrible movie. But yeah.
For a 6th grader to think that, I feel like that's saying a lot.
Well, no, by 1995, I was older, but I read Jurassic Park when I was in 6th grade.
Next one. Next one came out June 16th.
Okay.
Okay. Blank must battle former district attorney Harvey Dent.
Oh, wait. It's a Batman movie. It's Batman. It's not Batman. Batman Returns. It's Batman Forever or Batman and Robin. I'm going to say Batman and Robin. Batman Forever.
Indeed. Okay.
Oh, all right. Also, saw that in the theater.
Go on.
Terrible movie. That's all I
Okay.
have to say about that.
Okay. Delighted for you. Next up was released June 16th as well. Okay.
Okay.
You ready?
Yep.
Anne. I'll give you a minute. English. Soldier.
Oh, is it The English Patient?
And the daughter of an, gonna butcher this, Algonquin chief.
Is it English Soldier. Is it seen this movie? It's not the Terrence Malick movie, is it? How many words are in the title? One word?
One. Sorry, I forgot we're an audio medium.
Is it Pocahontas?
It is Pocahontas.
All right.
Okay. This one is a little bit short. It's May 26th. This one came out.
Okay.
An afterlife therapist.
Ghost?
And no.
That was earlier. Afterlife therapist.
Very close though. His daughter meet a friendly
Casper?
Yeah. Casper.
Casper the friendly ghost. All right.
Indeed. Right, are you ready? This is going to be easy.
Okay.
I'm going to say it quickly. Scottish.
Braveheart.
Warrior. Yes.
I got that on one. I
mean, it's Scottish. Of course you're going to get it. Okay, that's it.
All right. I like that. That was a fun game. I have one quick trivia question from June 9th, 1995 for you. Actually, this is from June of 1995. So on June 1st, it was the 68th National Spelling Bee. Justin Tyler
asked me to spell something.
Uh-huh.
Oh my God.
The winning word was spelled correctly by Justin Tyler Carroll. Wonder where he is now. Hopefully he's listening. The word, I can give you the word and the definition if the definition will help. The word is xanthosis. Xanthosis. Do you want the definition?
Is there any silent letters?
No.
Xanthosis.
Yes.
Z.
No.
Z.
It's another letter that makes that sound.
Xanthosis. Xanthosis? Is it S?
No. X. It starts with an X.
Well, I'm off to a real good start, haven't I?
Going great. One letter in.
X-A-N.
Good. Yep.
T-H-O-S-I-S.
That's it. You got it.
That wasn't that hard, other than the start. That was pretty
Do you know
hard.
what xanthosis means?
Is it like mitosis' cousin?
It has two definitions from Merriam-Webster that are very different from each other, sort of different from each other, although they're related. I'm sure if I knew Latin, I could say this better. But one is it's a yellow discoloration of the skin from abnormal causes.
Like jaundice.
Sounds like jaundice. The other one is a virus disease of the strawberry plant characterized by crinkling and curling, yellowing and dwarfing of the leaves and stunting of the entire plant. So either human skin or strawberries.
That's sad. I love strawberry.
Yeah, I love a good strawberry. All right, last thing for you.
Go for it.
I have a bad review of a great restaurant from TripAdvisor. The number one restaurant, according to TripAdvisor, in Dayton, Ohio, where this story takes place, is called The Foundry. And I want to clarify, again, this restaurant is very highly rated. It has 163 TripAdvisor reviews, average rating of 4.8 stars. It only has 2 one-star reviews and 3 two-star reviews. And I'm going to share with you one of the 2-star reviews.
We are going to highlight the negative for The Foundry. That's what we're going to do. Sorry,
All
Dayton, Ohio.
This is by, I feel like a power user of TripAdvisor. January Bride 01 is the name. Has 406 contributions
Feels
to TripAdvisor.
Like your wedding is your entire identity forever.
Also 01 because no
choice.
one else wanted to be. Could have just been January Bride. Maybe someone had that one was taken. Anyway.
No, well, someone definitely had that, and I'd say there were tears. I want to be it. Oh no, you can be number 1 January Bride. Anyway, sorry, go on.
All right, so this review is from November 1st of 2024. Nice. November 1st, 2024. It's a 2-star review. The title is Avoid Food Marginal, Strange Experience. All right, you ready for a strange experience?
Yeah.
So we checked the website for the best rated restaurants in Dayton, as we do every time we travel, which is about twice a month or more. No flex there, just.
Yeah.
This was rated
so well traveled. Sorry.
This was rated number 1, and I was thrilled to find it was at our hotel. Score. Score is all caps with 3 exclamation points. Actually, 4 exclamation points. We were in the hotel elevator and couldn't make it go up to the restaurant. Assumed it was user error. You have to go outside to use a different entry, which is totally fine. Went up, sat in the bar area. We were told there was no service at those tables, so we needed to order from the bar. Not a problem. They were out of our first 6 requests for wine by the glass. What? I actually said, what? You don't have any wines on your list? There aren't that many. Then we ordered the charcuterie board, and she said they were out. By that time, we thought we were on candid camera. So he ordered other items and asked to put it on our room.
That would be the worst episode of Candid Camera ever.
Just, we don't have that wine. Nope, we don't have that wine. Nope, we don't have that wine.
Charcuterie board? No, not that.
Let's see. So we thought we were on candid camera. So we ordered other items, asked to put it on our room, and the bartender said we couldn't do that, and she needed a credit card. Okay, different owner. I get it. We eat the cold, marginal food and get the bill and get what? There's an option to put it on your room charge. There's 6 exclamation points. Seriously, what else could have been wrong with this whole night? Horrible. And the DJ is totally unnecessary until 10 p.m. You know that. Would never return. Their number 1 rating is heinous. Skip. That's it.
I mean, from the outset, we had thoughts, we had feelings, we had vibes about January Bride 01. It feels like that review matches that username.
I want to acknowledge that January Bride 01 showed a lot of humility in the beginning of this review, right? Thought it was user error, that they couldn't get to the restaurant, said they had to order from the bar, said not a problem. Seemed really cool. By the end...
what?
Yeah. By the end, just taking a shot at the DJ out of nowhere? Like, DJ's just trying to bring some music.
Come on. Actually, I will say it's the one thing, like, so annoying when you're in a restaurant. I'm too old for that shit. I don't need someone bopping out music until I'm ready to bop, you know?
Sure. Also, there's no description of the food other than it was cold and marginal.
Yeah, and like, you know, we don't know if they're serving a charcuterie board. Maybe it was like a cold meal.
I don't know. All right, that was our time machine for today.
I really appreciate that the username was January Bride 01. Guess what, Jeff?
What's that?
We got to give a shout out to April, our newest Patreon member. Thank you so much for joining the fun over at patreon.com/so much crime, so little time. April is now enjoying early release episodes, some bonus content, some of the funniest outtakes, and also getting a chance to support the show, which is really good. It's got a feel-good factor. Do you know what? It feels a lot better than being someone who goes on TripAdvisor and leaves a shitty review from somewhere just because you're annoyed that your wedding's over, you know?
All right, Dee, tell us about Lords of Death.
All right. A little bit about this podcast. It was released in late 2024. The host has maybe the best host name we've come across before. Thrasher Banks.
Love it.
Amazing. 8 episodes long. The length was between 35 to 40 minutes each, so not huge. Not a huge commitment here, but let's dive in and hear a little bit more, Jeff, about the story. What is happening here? What's the story? What's the story, Rory?
So in episode 1...
You're not Rory, but...
rhyme, though. In episode 1, we meet Carrie. She is a single mom in the 90s, living in a pretty rough neighborhood in Dayton, Ohio. She gets a new boyfriend named Mick, who is an ex-con, moved in across the street. Then Tim shows up. Tim is Mick's friend from prison. Tim seems like bad news, and things escalate pretty quickly when Mick and Tim go out for a beer one night, and they disappear for hours. Carrie finds out when they come back that a sex worker was murdered. It's not really clear what happened, but then we learn that Thrasher, our host, who's been kind of guiding us through the story all along, was Carrie's 6-year-old son when this all happened, and he's now going to set out to investigate this and other crimes linked to Tim. That's pretty much episode 1. A lot in this episode. Quite the journey.
Oh, quite the journey indeed. Alrighty, where are we going to start? Will we start with the host? It's been a while, I feel like, since we started with the host.
Let's start with the host. What are your initial thoughts on the host?
The voice is a very, like, I don't know, is the flat affect, like, is that like Yeah, I feel like that's an accurate description.
It's very flat, very dry.
Very flat, very dry. I didn't love it at the start. To be honest, I was a little bit like, oh, I don't know if I'm going to get there. But I think given the wildness of the story, the flatness was actually like it created a great balance.
Yeah, I agree.
There was so many twists and turns that we'll talk about in a bit. But like, I felt like that flatness, like really, I don't know. I can't imagine Thrasher doing and then she saw who it was. Like, I can't imagine him trying to make this more dramatic. Like, it's just very much the facts, nearly, or it feels very factual because of that dryness.
Yeah, and I think it's also, I mean, it's balanced. It's balanced with the wildness of the story. I think it's also balanced with some of the emotion we get from. So we hear from Carrie, his mom, and we hear from Mick, Carrie's boyfriend, like a fair amount. Like, they tell a lot of the story, and they're obviously like they lived through this as adults, and so they're bringing a little bit more kind of animation to the story. I also want to say before we get too far down into the story, the opening I thought was really interesting. So the opening, he's talking about VHS tapes, old VHS tapes, and how they warp, and then we get kind of the warping sound of the background music. And he's making this metaphor of the warped tapes, which maybe when you go to pop them in and play them, are distorted or aren't what you remember, in the same way that your memories aren't necessarily what you think they are. Like, what really happened isn't how you remember it. And I thought that set the scene really nicely for the story.
Yeah, I really liked the opening as well. It felt like it kind of caught you in. You were thinking, I don't know, where's this going to go? Come here, when he mentioned straight away that he found the tapes, but he obviously doesn't mention that Carrie is his mom until like close to the end.
Yeah.
Did you see it?
No. Did you?
I didn't either. No. It was really interesting, like very like intentionally, I'm going to talk to Carrie and Carrie's children and Carrie's daughter, and like obviously very intentional about the language used throughout, but it was just interesting that I didn't see it coming either, and I was a bit like, but then listening to it a second time, I was like, how did I not see it? Like, he found it in his grandparents' house.
Yeah. And
how was I not questioning who it was?
Well, you're not a very attentive listener. But that was almost a spit take.
I mean, that's almost just inaccurate. It is very inaccurate.
Almost a
just
spit
for
take.
The record.
Almost.
Indeed, it was.
What I was starting to say, though, was when he chooses to tell this. So we're pretty much near the end of this first episode, and we've heard about this. So first of all, I want to spend some time talking about Carrie, because Carrie is my favorite person. So the boys have gone out. We've heard about how Tim is bad news, how he's trouble, how he's dangerous, how he has this gun obsession, whatever. And they come back. The car has a broken window and a bullet hole in it. She finds woman's shorts under the seat that has blood and brain matter on it, which was very descriptive, very grisly. Also, how did we get here?
How do you know what brain matter is?
Yeah.
Sorry. I don't think I'd know.
And so this is where the story really, like towards the end, just ramps up very suddenly. I mean, it's been building, but it gets much more violent very quickly. And the whole kind of house seems to descend into chaos, where Carrie is like questioning these guys. Tim still has his .357 Magnum.
But she doesn't see. He's in a separate room, seemingly, with the gun pointing to where Carrie is on the other side of the wall. And she's like, tell me. And he's like, Mick is like, you need to calm down if you know what's good for you. And she was like, I felt threatened by him. And he was actually trying to protect her. Like, it was chaos.
Yes, it was chaos. But then when she realizes kind of what's happened and how dangerous Tim is, that's when Thrasher tells us, yeah, I was a 6-year-old kid in this house when this was going on. And that's when my mom basically moved me and my sister to a different place to stay for a bit.
Did you catch it the moment Carrie was like, you and your sister?
Yeah. Yeah.
It was just like, huh? I feel like I should have seen it. But anyway.
We're all disappointed in you.
I know.
But, okay, let's talk about Carrie for a minute. What's your take on Carrie? What's your read on her?
She's really interesting to listen to. She's obviously extremely honest. I feel like it doesn't appear to me like she's buttering up her actions in this whole story. It doesn't feel like she's looking back and trying to make it out that she was, you know, an angel.
Yeah.
Which I appreciate, because I think it can be it must be really hard to do, like to go on and say this, because in a way it feels like everything was ramping up to the end and to the chaos that happened at the end, at least of the first episode. It feels so seeable. It kind of was like, how did she not see it? But obviously hindsight makes it harder. But I'm sure she has gone back, and I'm sure she has said there were so many red flags to Tim. How did I not see it? How did I put my kids, you know, with him? I'm sure she has done all that herself. It just felt very honest, her entire portrayal, which makes me like, I find her very endearing because of that.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I also, I don't know, I think her description, the side by side of Tim and Mick, Tim versus Mick, I felt like I could really see them. Like, I haven't looked up a photo of either of them. I don't want to know anything until we finish the podcast. But I feel she was describing Tim as having kind of hollow eyes, or
yeah,
and like a flat face, and I don't know. And then Mick is tall and kind of like this lovable rogue. I don't know. I just felt like I could see the two of them. Her descriptions were really, they were very visual. Like I could build up the two men in my head.
Yeah, I think that's true. Yeah, the hollow eyes, and then I mean, some of Tim's actions, I think, just helped get a good sense of who he was, the type of person he was. Like, we heard about several acts of violence, smaller acts of violence before the murder at the end. Yeah, I mean, she characterized him very well. I mean, she also talked about some of the positive things he did when he first came into their lives, that he would like cook breakfast for the kids, taught them how to tie their shoes. You know, he wasn't all bad. It got real bad. Because
even after the trip to where Tim was from, forget where they went, and he flipped over the car, and he did it like, he obviously was drinking in that bar they were in. He drove home. He sped up. He made her feel uncomfortable putting his hand on her leg, and the car flipped. And she was obviously very annoyed about that. But she was like, my kids loved him, and he was so good at my kids. And there was these two sides to him, even though in her mind, her opinion changed having seen him in the fight or whatever. She was still kind of grappling with the kind of two sides to his personality.
Well, and I think it's also important to contextualize this of like where she was before Mick and Tim came into her lives, right? Like, she's a single mom with two small kids. She's living in not a great area, and Mick comes into her life and seems really sweet. Like, they have this like flirtation where they're putting notes on each other's windshields.
Oh, that was such a cute little love story.
It was. And then she asked, like, how do I know you're not like a crazy rapist or something? And so like, she clearly has some of her defenses up, or at least in hindsight, it sounds like she did. And then, his buddy needs a place to stay. And it sounded like she was partially responsible for saying, like, we have this extra room.
It's interesting, though, because she said she wasn't. She said she didn't want Tim there. No. Mick said, Carrie said, well, tell him to come down here. But Carrie said she never said that.
Oh, okay. I missed that.
I'm wondering how we'll feel about Carrie as we go on. I'm also wondering, and I think we have to bring this point in, obviously Thrasher's mum is Carrie, and you'd wonder how she will be painted in this story, and if we feel that she'll be painted in a will the podcast be tilted to see his mom in a positive light? I wonder. And I suppose that is a question you have to bring up when someone has like such a close relationship with someone who's pivotal to the story.
I'm kind of glad, like, this is a particular type of storytelling that we've had a little bit of before, where it's someone who is very close to the story. I mean, it couldn't really be much closer to the story and interviewing. Yeah. So I feel like in other shows where we've talked about, like, we've questioned sort of the motives of the host or the tactics of the host. Like, here it's sort of right out there. Like, it's his mom. He was a 6-year-old kid when this started. So obviously he's, and that's the whole VHS premise, right? Like, how he remembers it isn't really how it happened, or it's been kind of warped by time and what he's trying to do. But also, so he's trying to investigate what really happened. But she was a record keeper. She has this box of tapes and letters and
why?
Articles.
Why does she have the police interview tape? Why would you have that? Like, How would you have that?
You don't have a box full of old video VHS tapes from the 90s of police interviews with people that you knew?
Just a reminder of how young I was in the 90s.
Yeah.
Not that we need to bring it up in every podcast, but like, just to be clear.
You have DVDs.
But like, why would she have it?
Laser discs?
Do you remember mini discs?
Mini disc. Oh,
remember they made like a show for like, we got a mini disc player. We got a connection to our like hi-fi system. Like this whole thing. Anyway, and then they absolutely fell off the world. Floppy disk, maybe that's probably where you were at when we were at
I
this
had
stage.
a lot of
clear.
floppy disks.
Why would she have the interview tape?
Great question. Not addressed here.
Honestly,
presume we're going to find out.
No, but like she has the interview tapes. She has, what else does she have? She has
letters, articles. It's a box.
So
it's like a memory box.
Like my assumption here in this whole thing is that Mick is going to say that he did it to save Tim. That's my assumption here. Because she said, why would he throw this all away?
Interesting.
For him.
Okay.
And so, I don't know.
Something went down in this car and this woman got murdered. These two guys were out there.
I also feel this is weird. Like, Mick comes home and is like, yeah, so we picked up a sex worker and I had her in the back of the car. And I'm like, okay, can we pause for a sec? Because she mentions, because I'm a woman, I assumed he was out cheating on me. But there doesn't seem to be any focus. I know, obviously, well, maybe this is the point. Maybe I need to calm down. Because the back window was broken with a bullet, smashed with a bullet. And there was shorts with brain matter and blood. So obviously she doesn't care whether he's shacking someone else because she cares that someone's been murdered. I get that. But there is no focus on that. There's no like, because Mick said he did it. He said he did it by accident.
Yeah. He,
so
yes, that it was an accident, but then what she calls bullshit on immediately. She's like, if this happened in the car.
There's no blood in the car.
Yeah.
Like the most observant person in an absolute panic.
One other thing in my notes that she did in that moment was she put the shorts in a plastic bag. She preserved the evidence.
Do you know what she is? She's better than some detectives we've heard about.
She really
Isn't
is.
she?
Yeah.
Do you remember the lads from Cork?
Oh, yeah.
They couldn't preserve anything.
Yeah. All right, Dee. What do you think? You excited to keep listening to Lords of Death?
Absolutely. I'm really intrigued by the mother-son dynamic here. I'm intrigued about the Tim versus Mick dynamic. I want to see if my prediction comes true. Doesn't sound like Carrie and Mick are still together. At least I feel like that's how it's being teed up in episode 1. So yeah. What about you?
Yeah, same. All that
I
stuff.
feel like you are as well. Yeah.
Yeah, we didn't talk about the title, but the title is a tattoo that Tim has, LOD, which stands for Lords of Death, which is I guess like a badge you get when you murder someone. So
you take someone's soul. Come here, one thing actually before we jump off that we didn't talk about that we usually talk about in episode 1 is particularly for this type of podcast and how it's laid out. There's not really a big mention of the victim in this episode. And I think I don't know. I don't know how I'm going to feel like that as the podcast moves forward. I felt like it worked here from a storytelling point of view. But until we hear the rest of the podcast, I feel like we might have to go back to that. That would be one of my it's usually one of my qualms with podcasts when they don't go victim first. But if we do look at it from a storytelling point of view, I don't know. Maybe it had to be. I don't know. Let's see how that plays out. What do you have thoughts on that?
I think that's fair. I didn't really think about it in that way. We do get a name, which we had mentioned. It's Cindy. We know that she was a sex worker, and that's really all we know about her. And but another way of looking at this, I think, and obviously she's the one who gets murdered in this episode. That's the victim here. But I feel like Carrie is also a victim here, and the kids are victims here, just in a different way. So I'm curious, what by the end of this, who we feel like where the attention was, who if the people who were presumably where there's going to be more murderers, if how much kind of space they're given, because Cindy is given almost no space here.
Yeah, be interesting to come back to. If you've enjoyed the conversation here today, the chats, the back and forth, the time machine, all of the different components, please leave us a comment. Let us know what you like. Let us know what you dislike. Are you January Bride 01? Do you want to leave us a 1-star review? If so, please leave some enjoyable words that we can read out to the rest of our listeners. Rate us on Spotify or Apple or wherever you get your podcasts, and don't forget to spread the word. Tell your friends, your colleagues, anyone who'll listen. That's what I do. I just tell everyone and see what happens. Thanks.
Next time, where does Thrasher's investigation into this 1995 murder go?
What other crimes did these so-called Lords of Death commit?
We're discussing all of Lords of Death.
That's on the next So Much Crime.
So Little Time.
So Much Crime, So Little Time is a production of MimeGov Media. The executive producer is Paxton Calariso. Our associate producer is Blythe Ty. Theme music was composed by Vyacheslav Starostin. If you haven't done it yet, please subscribe to this show in your podcast app. Don't forget to give us a 5-star rating and a review. Even better, tell your friends. To join the discussion, look for us on social media. Check out the show notes for all the links. Thanks for listening.